We now turn our attention to boxing and the upcoming trilogy fight between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, being held on the 9th of October 2021 at their T-Mobile Arena. It's an interesting fight. We've already seen two legs of this trilogy already, so we have a lot of evidence to go by. The first fight was very close, was given as a draw. I think Wilder had Fury down twice. Fury famously got up from a heavy shot from Wilder late on and recovered in a very iconic moment in boxing and came out with the draw. A lot of people thought he won, thought he'd done enough on points to win it. Thought Wilder stole a draw. And then we had in the second fight, Fury did a demolition job on Wilder, stopping him in sensational fashion. Wilder had no answer for Fury. Fury being trained by Sugar Hill, coming forward, walking Wilder down. A lot of people question Fury's power, but in that second fight, Fury showed that when he wants to lay down power and do a demolition job, he can do that. So we've got two fights to go by. The second fight was such a big win for Fury that a lot of people believe that Fury's going to win again, and I think it's a fair assumption. If you look at the way he dealt with Wilder, Wilder had no answer in that fight. He was destroyed physically, he was destroyed mentally. And the third fight's interesting because Wilder's fighting for his reputation. At the end of the day, Wilder loses this, his career's in tatters, certainly at elite level. It's unlikely they'll be having any more huge fights with other fighters at the elite level of the sport, or if he does have a fight with them, it'll be a much smaller event for less money, and it won't mean as much. So he has to come out and win. There's a lot of motivation there. Tyson Fury, he's got the title. He won the title when he beat Wilder, the WBC title. He's never defended the title, so it's an interesting situation, really. There's been a long time between that last fight. That was a long time ago. Neither fighter has fought since. We've had COVID and difficulty making fights and all the rest of it. And so both have been inactive. That makes it interesting. And as I said, Fury's first defence of a title. Fury's had some issues. I mean, the fight's been postponed. I think the reason given was COVID. I think Fury tested positive for COVID, I believe. But he also had some issues. I think he had a child that was born recently, born premature. So obviously that's, took a psychological toll, and obviously had to be by his wife's side. So I think that might definitely contributed to the postponement as well. So, to me, it looks like Fury's preparation isn't 100%. The relationship with Sugar Hill seems it seems to be less congruent than it was before. John Fury's in and out. Sometimes John Fury's by his side. Other times Fury's not with him, doing his own thing. I think at the moment, John Fury is by his side and speaking up for him and saying that he's helping with the preparations and all that. But you just get the feeling that Fury's preparation isn't really where it should be. Whereas on the other side, Wilder's training with Malik Scott. You get the feeling Wilder is someone who likes to have people around him that are on the same page as him. Some people will call it having yes men around him. He obviously had that disagreement with his former trainer, Mark Breland. That didn't end well. Didn't say nice things about Breland, who'd been with him for a long time, but moved on to Malik Scott, who knows the game, has been a fighter himself, has a lot of experience as a fighter. He understands the game, understands the sport, understands tactics. There's an argument to say that Malik Scott will be a better trainer than he was a fighter. And he was a decent fighter. Had an okay career. I do remember he had a bit of a poor fight with Luis Ortiz once, where he was running around the ring and making it a boring fight. It wasn't really engaging. But yeah, moving on from that, he's got a lot of experience. He's fought Luis Ortiz, he's fought high-level heavyweights, and he knows the game. So Wilder seems happy with him. Wilder's motivated. Wilder's training videos look good. You can't take too much from training videos because they're just training, But Wilder looks like he's happy, and he looks like he's ready to exact revenge. Let's look at the odds on this one. Tyson Fury's a resounding favourite at 4-11. You've got Deontay Wilder available at 13-5. So, 13-5, 5-2 is the price that's available in most places. When you look at that straight away, first things, when you're talking about fighting, you say, who do you think's going to win? Forget the odds, who do you think's going to win? I think most people would say it's hard to bet against Fury, really. Undefeated, did a demolition job on Wilder the first time. You'd have to say, the way he destroyed him, you'd have to say, no matter what problems he's having in his camp or preparation or whatever, you've got to say his skills, his footwork, his ring IQ, he's one of the greatest already. Like beating Wilder, not Wilder, beating Wilder in the second fight, beating Vladimir Klitschko in Germany away, taking the belts off Vladimir Klitschko. I mean, these are unique victories. No one at that time, Vladimir Klitschko was invincible. So there's things Fury's done in his career, and there's things he's capable of in the way he fights that other fighters can't emulate. So, you know, looking at it, you'd say Fury should find a way to win. But when you look at the odds, they're giving you 5-2 on Wilder, 4-11. So more or less 1-3 Fury. It's a very short favourite. When you look at the odds, to be honest with you, looking at a betting point of view, Wilder's odds look a bit more interesting. Certainly, if you could get 3-1 on Wilder, I'd be very interested. I'd be very interested in that, just from a betting point of view. If you ask me who's going to win, I'd side with Fury. The thing is, Wilder's win is going to depend on him landing his right hand. He's got one of the most devastating punches in the history of boxing, probably the most devastating right hand in the history of boxing. If Wilder connects with you, you're gone. I mean, what he did to Luis Ortiz in their second fight, it was a concussive KO. And we'd be here listing all his KOs. He's got a very high KO percentage. It's an obscene KO percentage, Wilder has. And if he connects with you, as we saw in the first fight with Fury went down twice at the hands of Wilder, you're in trouble. I think Wilder will connect at some point. The question is whether Fury is going to ride it out or whether he's going to go down. The other side of it is Fury could just do a masterclass. He could try and walk him down again and stop him as he did in the second fight. Or he could just play clever if he feels like it. He's got those skills, he's got that footwork, he's got that control of range, he's got that size advantage. Let's not forget the size advantage, the reach. He can keep it long if he wants to. And he showed in the second fight, he can get in close if he wants to and do damage. So Fury, it depends how he sees it really. And he's very good at adapting in the ring, making adjustments. The comparison I'd make with him there is Floyd Mayweather. I know it's two totally different weight classes. You know, talking about 147 and 154 for Mayweather, and then talking about heavyweight. But if you look at the way Fury moves and the way he controls fights, the ways he controls distance, he can mix it up. He can be elusive. He can walk you down. It depends what he feels like. I just think it's an interesting fight. The position where they are at the moment, I'll stick with what I just said. I think if you go for who's going to win, I'd lean to Fury, just straight up. But if we're talking about betting odds, Wilder's at 5-2. If that drifts a little bit, I'll be interested in that. I would be looking, from a betting point of view, to take Wilder. Simply because I think there's too much difference between the two odds. I agree Fury's the favourite. You'll hear me say this a lot on the channel. You look at the favourite at short odds, he should win. You know, Fury should win. But then when you look at the betting value, look at what Wilder brings to the table. As we've said, if he connects, you're in trouble. It can happen in the first round, it can happen in the 12th round. It doesn't matter. He's always a threat. Fury's good at keeping distance, he's elusive, his defence is good and all the rest of it. But when Wilder is trying to set up that right hand, if you saw what happened in that Luis Ortiz fight second time round, Wilder was behind on the cards. Well behind, 6 rounds went down to Luis Ortiz. Ortiz controlling the fight, it seemed. But what Wilder was doing was just working him out and figuring out how he was going to land that right hand. He didn't even bother trying to win rounds. He's looking for the KO, and then when he delivered that right hand onto Luis Ortiz, I mean, we were worried for Ortiz's safety. It was a concussive right hand and it went through. He's got that power. Some people are going to call it a puncher's chance. I think it's a little bit insulting. I think Wilder's very good at setting up opportunities to land that right hand, and if he detonates it, Fury's got problems. Fury's got to be very careful if he's going to win. By being elusive and trying to stay away from trouble. That's in the second fight he didn't care about that, he just went for him. But will Wilder be ready for that this time? He's seen that the first time, he'll have trained for it. If Fury wants to get on the front foot again, I think Wilder will see him coming. He's had 2 years to think about it pretty much. So I'll say again, to win, I'd say Fury, straight up. I think 4-11 is too short, so therefore as a betting proposition, I wouldn't go mad with it. I'd put a couple of points on Wilder. If I can get 3-1, 5-2, yeah, it's not bad. Hopefully it drifts a little bit. Maybe go on the Betfair exchange, get some value on the exchange. If I can get nearer to 3-1, I'm going Wilder. Enjoy the fight. Give your comments. Let us know who you think will win, straight up. Let us know where the betting value is, if you think there are any angles. Enjoy the fight, and I'll see you next time.